him and I went to the same school, Roosevelt High School. I was, I think, 2 years older than him. But I was the kind of cat that, you know, never really went to class. I'd hang out in the hallway, skip school, and, you know, but he always went to class. And I didn't even know him then until we hooked up. Basically, I was on the radio in 1983, and he called me up on the request line, introducing himself to me. And, you know, being in Seattle, you know, when someone says they rap and all that, you know, I said, there ain't no rappers in Seattle. There's only rappers in New York, you know. Mm-hmm. But I actually went to one of his events, his gig in the heart of the Black District. We call it the Central District. And I was like the only, because I'm Filipino, man, so it was like me and my partner who's Chinese were the only two non-black people walking in this building. And I was like, oh, shoot. Everybody thought there was going to be a fight. Mm-hmm. But, nah, man, they welcomed me in because they knew who I was from being on the radio. And I saw him do his thing. He was rapping, and then he was scratching, and he was mixing. I was like, wow, this guy is pretty good, you know. And then so I asked him, I said, you know what, why don't you let me play one or two of your songs on my show? You know, since you're from Seattle, let's see what happens. Because back in those days, no one really played local stuff, you know. And so I thought I'd, you know, give it a shot and see what would happen. And he ended up getting more requests back in the 80s, more than a Michael Jackson song, more than a Madonna song, a Climax song, you name it, man. And I just said, man, we need to start a record label. So I put my name together with his name, Nasty Mix. And then, next, a few years later, we went gold and platinum. And, you know, West Coast, Seattle on the map.
Yeah, now, what was it like with, like, Seattle's coming out? Because basically, I didn't really know that Seattle had a hip-hop scene because, for me, Seattle is just known for Starbucks and grunge.
Yeah, Nirvana.
And the Space Needle.
Yeah, oh, yep.
Yeah, so what was that like, you know what I mean, being from, you're not from L.A., you're not from New York, you're from Seattle, and people are like, Seattle? Isn't that where the Seahawks are?
Yeah.
So what was it like breaking through?
You know, I know what you're saying, man. It just seems so like we were like the underdogs, man, like what you said, Seattle, you know, but... Yeah, and I really believed in Mix-a-Lot's music, and I thought we could do something to make some noise, you know. But we didn't believe it'd make this much noise. But we just, you know, I think something, if you believe in something, truly believe in it, and love what you're doing, you'll be successful and rich at it. And it doesn't necessarily mean you'll be rich monetarily wise, but you know, the feeling that you accomplished something, and that's what we did. Just like, you know, I wanted to be a real well-known radio DJ and mixer, you know, and then I just kept doing what I love to do and did my best at it. And you know, years later, I'm known for it. You know, I picked up a legendary award from the Core DJs last year, and you know, it's kind of a nice feeling, man, especially when you coming from somewhere where no one really knows anything about Seattle except maybe the Seahawks are from there or Nirvana, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now tell me about the Swats album.
Yeah, well, I tell you, Posse on Broadway was the one that actually made noise. Square Dance was our first single, and he used this machine where his voice sounded like a Smurf voice, and it made enough noise that he played it, and we were invited to perform at the Fresh Festival in London. And the cool thing about that, they had all these big East Coast artists performing there in 1985, and we were the only West Coast artists to perform on stage with the Wrecking Crew. And that's the group that Dr. Dre was originally from. Mm-hmm. And that's how I got to know him and all those cats from the Wrecking Crew before WA started. But Posse on Broadway, that's a song I told Mixler, I go, man, every city around, every state has a Broadway, you know what I mean? And I think that could be a song where it would hit big, especially in New York, because New York has the biggest Broadway in history, man. I said, you know, we're going to blow up big in New York. Once we blow up big in New York, it's over. We're going to be large. But you know what? We blew up everywhere except New York. And New York has the biggest Broadway. But I think thanks to a lot of video support, being on MTV and BET, and, you know, the song had a lot of bass in it. And, you know, just as lyrics, man, people relate to it. And everyone has a Broadway in their hometown. And that was the one that really put the Swats album on the map, and it went platinum.
Yeah, like if you had an Audi with some rims and a car phone and your beeper, and you had that 808 kicking in the back, you were pretty much set. Now tell me about the Beepers record.